more. This is Channel 6 News at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Imani Payne. Chris and Leslie have the night off. We begin tonight with the first check of our weather. It has been pouring all day long. Meteorologist Bill Hecky is standing by with the details. Hey, Bill.
Oh, Imani, yes, we've had the intermittent light rain and drizzle all day. We haven't had a great deal of accumulation, but it's been coming down. We've had the fog, and it is starting to get a little heavier now because we are getting some slightly heavier air moving down. It's an overrun pattern, more moist air over the top, cool. Temperatures in the low 50s. They're not going to go too far tonight. They'll drop just a little bit, and we'll take them down to 48. And I didn't really increase them much tomorrow because we'll have a north wind, maintain our overrun. Other dynamics come into play. We'll talk about those in the weather back in a little bit. Imani.
All right, thanks, Bill. One of the highlights from today, not just for spectators, but the Bush family as well, was that historic train ride from Spring to College Station. And we were there with the thousands of people who lined the 70-mile route to give the president a final salute. Tonight, we're sharing a unique perspective from 3 stops along that special route, as told by our Tegna team.
For more than a century, through 2 world wars, booms, recessions, and a Great Depression, the rails have remained the connection. The link between Spring,
Magnolia, and Navasota.
But nothing has brought them together like this. In Spring,
Hold it up.
Lisa Perry juggled umbrellas and grandkids. 3-year-old Natalia and 6-year-old Christopher.
Very energetic, yes they are.
But a grandma knows.
There's a whole bunch of people here.
Lessons will be learned along the rails.
That's how many people loved him, so that's why they came out to pay respect to him.
Lisa couldn't help but love President Bush after bumping into him once at a Walmart.
Talking with me, and he was just in there shopping, for the kids.
A grandparent, just like her.
He died.
That's why she's here with her grandkids.
Yes, this is his last ride through here,
In Magnolia, a town of 2,000,
I don't even think we have bank robberies out here. I don't know.
Frank Stovall found room along the route
Oh, Lordy.
to park for a president.
I don't vote for people 2 times unless I like them. I think if he was here, he'd like my truck too. This is a mess.
Stovall stays in his car because he doesn't stand for long.
Yeah.
At 75, change and loss are far too frequent.
You lose people, you lose old friends, and when you get my age, and it just, sometimes it's depressing,
But in this loss, in this ride, Stovall saw strength.
And you see all these people, they're not depressed. If he was here today, he'd probably shake hands with us.
In Navasota, on the western leg of the journey, 93-year-old Lon Sowell and his wife of 73 years
Yeah, when you keep that and keep dry.
stood for an hour in the rain for a moment of their collective lifetimes.
I'm going to smile and wave at him. Maybe salute him.
Like President Bush, Sowell fought in World War II.
We all volunteered, I did.
He came here to wait for a train destined to transport him back to an era long past, if only for one passing moment.
Took care of the country. That's the reason.
Back in Spring,
It's on the move.
the wait is over.
Oh, here it comes.
Lisa and her grandkids, eyes on the crossing.
Well, he's on his way home.
How is he on his way home?
To heaven.
I'll see the light.
In Magnolia, 15 minutes later, thousands along the tracks
There's the casket.
and Frank Stovall stand up.
Man, what a deal. That's something, ain't it?
And back in Navasota,
You're going to be buried in Texas. So he's a true Texan.
as the train neared its final stop. And within that crowd of hundreds, one 93-year-old World War II veteran paused,
There he goes.
if just for a moment, to say farewell.
That was nice,
More than 100 years, Navasota, Magnolia, and Spring have been connected by these rails.
Yeah, it's very important. Come on, let's walk.
Forevermore, they'll be linked by this moment.
That's it, and he will always be in our hearts here. Come on this way. For security, give me a hand.
Powerful story there. Shortly after being elected president, George H.W. Bush was approached about having his presidential library at Texas A&M University. It said that the president fell in love with the school and the military culture the university provided. Channel 6 News reporter Jasmine Caldwell was on the grounds today as the Bush family buried him in a private ceremony.
Somber moments here at the library as the Bush family said their final goodbyes. We got to see George W. Bush wave to the media and hug his brother Jeb as they left their father's grave. You could hear a pin drop as the hearse carrying the body of President George H.W. Bush made its way to its final resting place. To honor the president, the U.S. Navy conducted a 21-strike fighter aircraft flyer at the George Bush Library at Texas A&M. The public was not invited and the cameras were not able to film as his casket was carried to his grave and his family said their final farewell. George Bush is buried next to his wife Barbara and their daughter Robin. A guard will stand and watch over the Bush gravesite for at least a day or two. The public will be able to visit his grave starting Saturday. Reporting from Texas A&M, Jasmine Caldwell, Channel 6 News.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. A Hewitt man charged with capital murder was found guilty today, but the verdict may get thrown out because of a mistake prosecutors made. A jury found Tyler Clay guilty of hiring a hitman to kill someone who robbed him, but his defense lawyer moved for a mistrial right after that ruling. Turns out the prosecution had shown a video that was not admissible in its original form Thursday morning, even though they had used the edited version earlier in the trial. Defense attorney Randy Schaefer says the mistake was inexcusable.
Obviously, she did not take the exhibit admitted in evidence and play it for the jury. She took something out of her briefcase that if she looked at it first, she knew it had been excluded.
As a result, Judge Matt Johnson is holding the verdict in limbo until he reviews court policy to find out if the mistrial should be granted. Johnson will make a ruling on December 20th. Over in Hewitt, parents in Midway ISD are sharing their concerns after a vape store is preparing to open right across the street from a middle school. Channel 6 News reporter Cole Johnson is following this story tonight. And Cole, what are the main issues people have with this shop? Welcome back. Over in Hewitt, parents in Midway ISD are sharing their concerns after a vape store is preparing to open right across the street from a middle school. Channel 6 News reporter Cole Johnson is following the story tonight. And Cole, what are the main issues people have with this shop?
Hey, Amani, many in the community are worried that it will spark the curiosity of the younger kids to have them to want to vape, but the owner says it won't be a problem because they won't be allowed inside.
Honestly, when I saw it, I was very sad and disappointed that that was going to be so accessible to our kids.
It's a trend sweeping the nation. Vaping has skyrocketed in popularity with teens, and now in Hewitt, it will be a constant reminder anytime a student leaves Midway Middle School.
As soon as you walk out of the middle school, that is the first thing that you can see is vape.
Directly across the street glows the words "opening soon." These two words have raised major concerns for parents and faculty.
It raises awareness for that, so even if they're not allowed to now, it raises their curiosity.
Now Midway ISD is warning parents to talk with their kids about the dangers of vaping.
Definitely talk to my kids about it. We talk about the risks and the health issues that could be associated with inhaling anything.
The Center for Disease Control says nicotine that's generally found in vape devices can alter brain development in teens. But store owner Amir Surani wants to focus on the positive and says his business has actually helped people in Central Texas.
Till now, we have more than 3,000 to 4,000 customers in Waco who have quit smoking and went on vaping.
And says parents don't need to worry because kids won't even get their foot in the door.
They don't have to worry at all because in my store, there would be a big sign like no under 18 allowed inside. And we check ID on every transaction.
But the school district says even the sign is enough to cause issues.
I just don't want it to ever leave the impression that it's okay, and for students to think, oh, well, since there's a store across the street that it must be okay.
says at this point they're not aware of any ordinance or state law violations regarding the store's location across the middle school, and it's expected to open within the next 2 weeks. Imani?
All right, thanks, Cole. More after the break. Stick with us. Welcome back. A grand jury has indicted a former Laredo Border Patrol agent accused of killing 4 women in September. Our border reporter Oscar Margain shares what prosecutors believe was the motive behind the murders.
In this border brief, a former agent indicted. Texas state prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for Juan David Ortiz after a grand jury returned an indictment Wednesday. Ortiz was arrested by state troopers on September 15th in Laredo after a series of murders that happened in the span of 2 weeks. The Webb County District Attorney described Ortiz's motive as a vigilante seeking to clean up the streets of Laredo by randomly targeting a community associated with drugs and prostitution. Melissa Ramirez, Claudine Luera, Giselda Cantu, and Humberto Janel Ortiz are the victims in the case. In addition to the capital murder charge, the former Border Patrol agent is also facing aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, unlawful restraint, and evading arrest. Ortiz has yet to be arraigned. That's your border brief. I'm Oscar Margain reporting.
All righty, now let's go ahead and send it over to Bill Hecky. Bill, how are things looking outside? Have a good night.